goodness, you guys must be mistaken because there's nobody that cool here tonight. Woohoo, go Folks! It is awesome to be at Blue Willow. You guys know how lucky you are to have Blue Willow here. Do you really, truly appreciate how awesome this store is? Last night, I had the opportunity to be at Murder by the Book, which is also a truly phenomenal store. And I can say I love Tulsa, Oklahoma dearly. It's my home city, and I'm proud to live there now. But we don't have this, and this is truly a treasure. And here I'm. So what I thought I might do is just talk for 15 minutes or so about the two most commonly asked questions that I get, and then I thought I'd throw it open to questions. So you guys have questions, right?
Of course.
Because I tell people that my readers are the smartest girls in America, and they ask really awesome questions. So I really anticipate you not making me a liar. So probably the most commonly asked questions that I get are, number one, did I always know I wanted to be a writer? And how did I figure that out? And I think the answer to that question is probably yes, to an extent. I wanted to be a writer as soon as I read the book, The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. You guys read The Outsiders yet? If you haven't read it yet, don't worry. I'm sure you will in school, or else, you know, they've got it at your school library. They probably have a copy or two in the store here. It is a very, very wonderful sort of piece of American literature. And whenever I was reading that growing up in Oklahoma, I was about, probably 6th or 7th or 8th grade, walking around my house one summer break, carrying it, and my dad looked at me and he said, you know she's from Tulsa, right? And Tulsa wasn't my hometown, but it was the city where we would go shopping, and it was the airport that we'd fly in and out of and everything. And Tulsa was a city that I knew, and the fact that the woman who wrote this book that I loved was from a city that I knew just kind of blew my mind. And then he told me something that would completely blow my mind, and that was that she was 16 when she wrote it. And the fact that somebody from where I was from, who was about the same age that I was, had written something, it really affected me very, very deeply, that not only do real people write books, but people like me wrote books. And so that's why I thought, okay, I'll write books, because that's what girls from Oklahoma do. And that was the first time it ever entered my mind, and it was always back there, kind of lingering, that this might be really, really awesome. This might be fun. I could make up stuff and wear my pajamas for a living. And I thought, those are two things I'm awesome at, is telling lies and wearing pajamas. And so this would be a really sweet gig to get to be paid for doing this. And so I grew up and I went to Oklahoma State University. I love OSU, go Pokes. I majored in agricultural economics because I'm a very practical person, and I thought, okay, I could always be a writer, but I might starve to death. And the thing you got to know about writing is creative writing is a wonderful degree for a writer to have, but it's not mandatory. What you need to have a published book is a publishable book, which may sound a little counter-obvious, but really, nobody cares what your degree's in. They couldn't care less. I could have a degree in basket weaving, I could have a degree in Spanish, I could have no degree. If I have a book that's good, people will want to publish it. And I know that the two things that you have to do to write a publishable book are write a lot and read a lot. And to have a degree in English or in writing would certainly make you do both of those two things, but there are ways of doing that without having that degree. So I got a degree in something that I knew would pay the rent. And in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, you know, it might be awesome to write. It might be awesome to write. And I didn't get really serious about it until I actually finished graduate school and started my first real job. And then I had my nights free, I had my weekends free, and I thought, okay, it's put up or shut up time. I've got to either get this down or not. And so I sat down one summer and wrote a whole book. And I didn't know if it was any good or not, because you never know. And I would send it to my mom, and she would say it was awesome, but, you know, moms lie. And so I wasn't real sure. So I entered a contest, and sure enough, it actually won the contest. And I thought, hey, I'm not terrible. I still wasn't willing to say I was good, but I wasn't terrible at that point. So that's when I started looking for an agent. And things really started rolling at that point. But it wasn't until my agent emailed me and said, you know what, I think you should try writing for young adults, that I really felt like I was absolutely doing what I was meant to do. And she did that. She emailed me one Wednesday afternoon and said, I think you should try writing for teens and young adults. And because teen girls are really smart, and people have finally figured that out. I was like, it's about time, because I remember being a smart teenage girl, and nobody really appreciated that fact. And so she said, you know, teen fiction is getting ready to get really hot, and send me a teen proposal. So I went home and I popped a big bowl of popcorn, and I was sitting in front of my TV watching the TV show Alias. You guys remember Alias? It was Jennifer Garner, and she was a college student by day and a spy by night. And things just don't get more awesome than that. And so I was watching it, and it was a flashback episode of when she, her little sister, was growing up in an orphanage in Argentina. And so I glance up, and all I see, there's these girls running around this big building in the middle of the night. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, did she go to a boarding school for spies? And I turn up the volume, and sure enough, that's not it. But by that point, guys, what was in the back of my mind? Boarding school for spies. Those girls running around on the TV, my life changed. And you just never know when it's going to happen. And so it was great. It was like I'd won the lottery, and I was getting paid to write these books that I absolutely loved. But the problem is that it's like having someone come up to you and say, your favorite food is pizza. You can have pizza for dinner every night of your life. Eventually, do you maybe want to try something else? So it was feeling a little bit that way. I was loving writing the Gallagher Girls, but I thought, it might be fun to branch out and try something new. And so I was driving along one day listening to a book on tape, and there was a line in the book that said, I was like a cat burglar in my own house. And I immediately, again, just that quickly, I thought, I want to write a book about a girl named Cat who's a burglar. And I didn't know anything else, but I knew I wanted to do it. I knew I wanted to write about a girl who'd grown up in a family of thieves and con men, and what it would be like to have been born into that world. And there are some challenges that come with that, though. I love heist movies like The Sting and How to Steal a Million and Ocean's 11 and all those movies. And the problem that you get into that is always the person that's being conned, or the person that you're stealing from, has to be far less sympathetic than the person doing the stealing. And so I knew I had to give Kat a really good reason for doing what she was doing. And so I thought, okay, well, what if the person who really owns these paintings is a really bad guy? And not only that, but what if she's not stealing the paintings from that guy, but what if she's stealing them from another thief? And so I came up with the idea that Kat has conned her way into an elite boarding school. She's happy there. She's trying to get on with her life. But she gets kicked out. And come to find out, her family gets her kicked out because this really bad Italian mobster guy has had 5 priceless paintings stolen from his house. And he's totally convinced that Kat's dad did it. And he's given Kat's dad 2 weeks to return the paintings or he's going to kill him. The problem is Kat's dad didn't do it. And so you can't return what you don't have. And so Kat has 2 weeks to track down the real thief and steal the paintings back. And so that's how Heist Society came to be. And it was a lot of fun to write. It was a wonderful new world to get to kind of spread my wings and branch out into. I'm so grateful to my publisher for saying, you know what, this is a good idea. And it would have been very easy for them to say, you know what, you got the Spy Girl thing, why don't you just give us another one of those? But they didn't do that, and I'm really grateful. And I'm so, so grateful for shops like Blue Willow for embracing it, and for all of you for coming out tonight to get a copy and talk about it and everything. And so with that, let's answer some questions.